Sahitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Sri Radha Padan, Sahagana, Alita Vascha, Vintamscha, He Krishna Karuno Sindhu, Dino Bando Jagat Pati, Gopisha Gopi. Taptak Sanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vindavasvari, Rishabhanu Devi, Pranam Sindhu Ebya Evacha, Patitanam Pavarnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namasto Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivisesha Isuva Sunyavadi Paskatia Devatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you all for joining today's discourse.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Your Grace Vidura Prabhuji. To today's, we are doing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, chapter 9, verse 34, from paragraph 3 in the purport. We did 1 and 2 yesterday with His Grace.
Paragraph 3.
Paragraph 3 and
So
4.
paragraph
Yes,
3,
from paragraph 3.
That paragraph 3, does that start with persons with a poor fund of knowledge? Is that right?
Yes, I am. Yes, let me just.
That starts with the paragraph starting with persons with a poor fund of knowledge. Is that right? Haribo?
Yes, after Miss, yes, the Vedanta Sutra. No, the Vedanta, yeah, up to the persons, yeah, true. But we can start from the Vedanta Sutra, the 2 paragraphs before, and then we go to that paragraph.
Okay, fine. All right, fine.
Krishna.
Thank you. Om Jnana-timirandasya Ganangana Shalakaya Chakshuram Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Rite Ritam Yat Pradityeta Na Pratyeta Chatmani Tadvijad Atmanomayam Yatabaso Yata Tamaha. Translation. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relationship to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Jai. Oh, very nice. So, here we have the famous Chatur Shloka, and so I need to see the screen. I don't need to see the verse on the screen. Can we? I need to see something else. Can we cancel the screen part with the verse on the screen? Is that possible? Can we take that off? Because I'll just read from the book. Yeah, the other thing is just confusing me. Thanks. So, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Vedanta Sutra in the very beginning affirms that everything is born from the Supreme. And thus, as explained in the previous verse, All individual living entities are born from the energy of the Supreme Living Being, the personality of Godhead. Brahma himself was born from the energy of the Lord, and all other living entities are born from the energy of the Lord through the agency of Brahma. None of them has any existence without being dovetailed with the Supreme Lord. So we've pretty much established the fact that we're all coming from Brahma. But having said that, ultimately we are all connected with the Supreme Lord. There is no independence of the Supreme Lord. We are all part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. This is a basic concept that we learn the very first day, practically speaking, when we walk in the door of a temple, or when we are given, or we come in touch with a devotee, or we're given one of Srila Prabhupada's books. We all hear this. You're not the body, you're spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we all have the example of, as Prabhupada has given us, the drop and the ocean, and comparing the two. So when you have the drop is the same quality as the ocean, but of course it's not the same quantity. And the drop cannot contain, for instance, living entities like sharks or fishes or whales or anything like that. The variety in the ocean is unlimited, whereas the drop has limitations, whereas the ocean is, practically speaking, unlimited. So the Vedanta Sutra, Prabhupada is saying here, affirms that everything is born from the Supreme. Nothing exists without the Supreme. And thus, Prabhupada says, all living entities are born from the energy of the Supreme Living Being, the personality of Godhead. And Brahma himself, after he went through all his tapasya, he went through all his austerities, he didn't know where he was running up and down the stem of the lotus flower for millions of years. He didn't have a clue what was going on, nothing was in existence, and just darkness, no sunlight, no moonlight, no stars, nothing, just Brahma. And then he began to meditate. And in his meditation, he heard the sound vibration, tapa, 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 perform tapasya, perform austerity. So he did. And he performed austerity again for millions and millions of years until finally he actually got the darshan of the Lord. He had a conversation with the Lord. He had a conversation with Vishnu. And he was actually engaged in such a way he could see the spiritual world. Although he's an ordinary jiva soul, he's an ordinary living entity, just like us. Brahma is not different from us. He's a spirit soul, but the difference is his body is made of intelligence. So he had this conversation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was able to see into the spiritual world. He was given instructions on what to do. And part of the instructions are these chatur shloka that we're doing now. And at the end of the whole relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, after he was given his instructions, okay, you do this, you do that to create the universe, then the Lord actually put out his hand and he shook the hand of Brahma, and he said, now, go ahead, you're blessed. Go ahead, I wish you luck. He said, just like we shake hands. Then he shook the hand of Brahma, and he said, now go ahead and engage in your service to your heart's content. So that was Brahma's job. The Prabhupada is going on to say, the independence of the living entity is not real independence. So Brahma, like us, he doesn't have real independence. And he is the creator of the universe under the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But none of us have any real independence. It's simply impossible. Just like the branch is part of the tree. It has no independence separately from the tree. The leaves, the flowers, the fruits, everything, they're all part of the tree. As soon as you cut off the branch from the tree, then it's chopped off, it falls on the ground. For some time, it might appear to have life, but it's only a question of time before it rots. And just like when I was at a funeral, the last funeral of all our uncles and aunts. So the aunts and uncles generation, they'd all died off. I went to Ireland for a funeral a few years ago, and the uncle was lying in the coffin in the sitting room in the house. Everybody in Ireland, they perform a wake. They have a big celebration. They celebrate that person's life. People are dancing around the coffin, drinking and having fun and making jokes and everything like that. And then people get melancholy and they start to lament, oh, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. No, he's not gone. He's there in the coffin. The coffin is open. You can see him. There's his head. There's his ears. That's his eyes, his hair, his nose. I mean, that's our uncle. How can you say he's gone? So you say, no, 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 he's gone. But what is gone? The essence of what is gone, that is the soul. So that's what we don't recognize. We go through our whole lives living with someone, husband, wife, son, daughter, mother, father, whatever, and we never know who that person is because we're relating solely and completely to the body. We don't relate to the soul in any way, shape, or form. So because we have no independence whatsoever. Any idea of independence is simply an illusion. The independence of the living entity, of the individual living entity, is not real independence, Prabhupada is saying, but is just a reflection of the real independence existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The false claim of supreme independence by the conditioned souls is illusion. And this conclusion is admitted in this verse. So the false claim. So who's claiming that to be false? Everybody. We're all claiming that we're independent and we're the Ishvara. We're not the Ishvara. We'll never be the Ishvara. We'll never be the controller. We'll always be completely and totally dependent on the Lord. There may be some minute degree of independence, just like the drop or the spark coming out of the fire. There's some degree of independence, yes, because the spirit soul is the same potency in a sense as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're both spiritual. But as soon as that spark lands on the wet grass from the fire, it's gone. It loses everything. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge become illusioned. And therefore, Prabhupada says, the so-called scientists, physiologists, empiric philosophers, etc., become dazzled by the glaring reflection of the sun, moon, electricity, etc., and deny the existence of the Supreme Lord, putting forward theories and different speculations about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of everything material. So we see this amongst all the institutions of learning all over the world. They're simply guessing. I remember right now I'm in Kenya, and I've been in Kenya for some time. But when I lived in the UK, I used to occasionally watch this programs on cosmology conducted by Professor Cox, Brian Cox. He appears on BBC quite a lot. A very, very intelligent man, very young, and very attractive. He has millions of followers from what he says, and he conducts seminars and conferences and everything on cosmology all over the world. He's invited to appear in so many universities. He's like a superstar, but he's a university professor. He gives lectures in Oxford and Cambridge and Harvard and Yale and all these places of learning all over the world. And again, as Prabhupada is saying here, persons with a poor fund of knowledge become illusioned. He's convinced that the cosmos is simply created by the Big Bang. And here's a super intelligent person who definitely has a brain and is able to explain so many things about life and so many things about the cosmos, but the fundamental principle of where it all comes from, not a clue, not an idea. And yet He's eulogized all over the world and considered to be a great intellectual. But people don't question this. They still are convinced totally in all the universities of learning all over the world, everything came from a big bang. Everything came by chance. Simply you put all these gases together and you put them under pressure, and then from an explosion, then comes all this complete and total order that we see in the whole cosmos. Completely and totally illusion. It's like if you take it's farcical, but this is accepted as fact in every university, every institution of learning all over the world. This is the norm. So if you start off on the basic premise, and the basic premise is incorrect, just like we learn in algebra, if you start off on the basic premise and the beginning of your equation, there's a mistake, a fundamental flaw in your equation, then you can go on doing your equation forever. The end result will be flawed. The end result will be incorrect. But yet this incorrect assumption is accepted as a fundamental fact by institutions of learning all over the planet. So Prabhupada is saying here, they deny the existence of the Supreme Lord, putting forward theories and different speculations about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of everything material. So how can they do anything right in the world? How can the world be in the state that it is in, totally and completely chaotic, on the verge of self-destruction, and yet we've reached this stage of our own free will? We've reached a stage with the puffed up notion, how does the Bhagavatam relate to all this? Because we started off on the wrong premise. So we can go on and on and on forever, but we'll never reach a conclusion that is going to be of benefit to humanity. Because we start off on the premise that, you know, we are the body, we are in control, we know everything, and there's no need for God. So everything in relationship to God is denied. The very existence of God is denied. Just like today, I mean, today in the sense that the international political scene is absolutely and totally chaotic. They don't have a clue what they're doing. They formed this United Nations in 1945 at the end of the Second World War. Again, another unnecessary war. And they just said, well, no more wars. We've had enough. We had 2 wars now in the last 50 years, the First World War, the Second World War. They said, now enough. No more. Too much killing. So they formed this United Nations. And with the formation of this United Nations, the intention was to end all wars. No more of these wars. Not a single day has passed since the formation of the United Nations when there has not been a war. Not one single day. Immediately after the Second World War, they had the Korean War, and then they had the Vietnam War, and they had the Middle East wars, they had the wars in Iraq, they have wars in Ukraine, they have wars all over the world. Major wars, major conflicts going on. So many wars going on in Africa, so many wars going on in Asia, so many wars going on in the Middle East. It's just one chaos after another because the equation is wrong. Because they refuse to accept. And then you come forward, the devotees come forward and give them the knowledge by which they can actually get out of this cycle of war and death and torture and destruction and birth and disease and old age. Say, no, we don't want that. We know better. So this is the end result. What can we expect? The medical practitioner, Prabhupada says, may deny the existence of the soul in the physiological bodily construction of an individual person, but he cannot give life to a dead body, even though all the mechanisms of the body exist even after death. Just like I was describing at that funeral scene that I went to in Ireland. The body is still there. All the mechanisms of the body are there. The organs are there. The head is there. The arms is there. It's dead matter because that spiritual spark is taken out. Just like you can have the most wonderful, amazing television on the planet with multifunctional millions of channels and so on and so forth. But unless it's connected with the energy of the electricity, it's dead. It's just dead matter. So we're the same unless we're connected with the ultimate energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're simply dead matter. We're dead matter anyway. It just appears to have life. It appears to be moving. It appears to have some intellect, but it's nothing. Without the soul, it's empty. Just like we can take cook a beautiful meal, cook a Rajbhog, for example. Cook a Rajbhog. And take that Rajbhog plate, a beautiful plate with all the offerings intended for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, intended to go on the altar. And you can take that Rajbhog, that wonderful plate of prasadam, of bhoga, and put it in front of a mirror. It has exactly the same reflection in the mirror as it has in reality. You look, you can see in the mirror, you can see the puris, you can see the rice, you can see the sabji, you can see everything that's there, the fruits, the sweets, everything. But you try to eat what is in the mirror. It's impossible. The reflection is there. It looks exactly the same. We look in the mirror, we see our face, but you try to relate to the person that's in the mirror. It's impossible. It can't be done. You cannot enter the mirror because it's simply a reflection. So this whole material cosmic manifestation is simply a reflection of what is going on in the spiritual world. And we engage with the reflection and we think, oh yeah, deflection is the end all and be all of life. But it's not. It's simply a reflection. Prabhupada is saying, the psychologist makes a serious study of the physiological conditions of the brain, as if the construction of the cerebral lump were the machine of the functioning mind. But in the dead body, the psychologist cannot bring back the function of the mind. That's a fact. You can study the brain forever. You can't bring back the soul. When the soul is gone, the soul is gone. There's nothing you can do about it. These scientific studies of the cosmic manifestation or the bodily construction independent of the Supreme Lord are different reflective intellectual gymnastics only. And that's all it is. Different reflective intellectual gymnastics. So when you go into the gym, you perform all kinds of gymnastics, you get on the parallel bars, you jump here, there, jump over the high jump and so on. It's just intellectual gymnastics. It's just like word salad. That's all it is, just word salad. People can mouth so many things coming out of the mouth. It's all blah, 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 blah. Gramya kata. It's all the kata of the marketplace. That's all. We're not interested in that. We're interested only in Krishna kata, but the whole world couldn't care less. They're not interested. That's why this movement, this ISKCON movement is so important, to preach the message of Mahaprabhu, to give the suffering conditioned souls the opportunity. We take it for granted, especially those of us who perhaps are living in a temple. We take it for granted. We go to the morning program, go to the evening program, we have Bhagavatam class, we have evening arti, we have evening class and so on. We take prasad and we offer everything to the Lord. But this is not the life of the vast majority of the suffering conditioned souls. So our job, our service, if you will, is not to be complacent and simply, well, I'm doing it, I'm okay. So what about the rest of the world? What about the praja? What about the people who are out there? It's okay feeling good about ourselves. Yes, it's wonderful. We're engaging with the process. That is fantastic. But the real thing is, the real goal, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one who preaches this supreme message to my devotee, he is the most dear to me. So everybody is a devotee of the Lord. Everyone is a devotee of Krishna. The problem is we are so far removed from that original constitutional position, that we have to re-engage, remember, again become a member of this wonderful, absolute, supreme, glorious association of the devotees. And this is what we need to give to those conditioned souls. This is what we need to give to ourselves. We need to sustain ourselves with the strength of Vaishnava association, so as we can in turn impart this message to the conditioned souls by going out on Harinam, by going out on book distribution, by simply talking to someone, whoever we meet, wherever we meet them. We meet them in Tesco's, we meet them in the supermarket, meet them at the bus stop, wherever we meet. We get whatever opportunity arises. We are representative of the spiritual master. We're representing the whole process of devotional line. It may be in a small way and maybe in a very humble way, but that is our position. Whoever we meet, we give them the opportunity to re-engage. People are suffering like anything. They're looking for this message. Yes, we have tens of thousands of devotees worldwide. We have so many hundreds of thousands of temples. That's a fact. And we are spreading like anything. But there are still 8.5, 9 billion people out there who know nothing of Krishna. The message is urgent. The cause is urgent. And the laborers are few, very few. That's what Lord Nityananda said. I want to distribute this knowledge of love of God to everyone, but the workers are few, so few. So we have to get out there and remind these people. So that's why Prabhupada is saying here, these scientific studies of the cosmic manifestation or the bodily construction independent of the Supreme Lord are different reflective intellectual gymnastics only. But at the end, they are all illusion and nothing more. So the whole thing that they're going for, it's simply an illusion, nothing more. I've been traveling extensively in East Africa since I arrived. Been traveling, to all the major towns and cities in Kenya. I've been to Uganda, and everywhere you go, it's so sad. It's just so sad. You see everybody, running, especially on a Saturday. You're traveling in a car. You see people running to the local place where they're showing these big screen TVs. People are going and paying their 50 or their 100 shillings to go in, and they want to watch Manchester United, or they want to watch Arsenal, or they want to watch Chelsea and their football team, and then they're cheering very loudly for their team. This team are away over there in England. They couldn't give a damn about what's going on in Kericho or what's going on in Mombasa, or do they even know that these places even exist? These guys running around kicking their football, being paid £100,000 a week or whatever, they don't even give a damn about the team that they're playing for. If somebody is playing for Liverpool today on £100,000 a week, and then tomorrow he's offered 150,000 to go to Manchester United, he immediately jumps out of Liverpool and he goes to Manchester. They don't care about even their local team, and yet these people are jumping up and down and going like, ooh, 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 Arsenal and Man U and this, and they're all wearing the T-shirts all over the place. You see them everywhere you go. They got these Arsenal T-shirts, and they got these Man U T-shirts, and they got Chelsea T-shirts, and this is their life. What to speak of the people who are living in these towns and cities in England, 70, 80, 90, 100,000 of them going to see these football matches every week, and eating their burgers and drinking their beers and barking like dogs and cats, cheering on their team. Then they come out and they fight each other, and they engage in these battles, one team against another. I used to see it. I used to live down the road from Aston Villa when I lived in Birmingham. I've never once been to the Aston Villa sports ground. It's literally down the road from my house. And the Aston Villa supporters, they come out and they have big fights with the Birmingham supporters, and this is their life. This is their life, and it goes on all over the world. When you go to South America, they have their league. You go to Spain, they have their league. You go to Germany, they have their France, they have their league. And these people are like gods, demigods. And this is the whole absorption of the karmic world everywhere you go. And when they're not absorbed in their football and their beer and their hot dogs and everything like that, then they go off to wars and they're killing each other. I think, yeah, this is life. This is what's keeping us going. This is what's sustaining me. It's just so sad. It's just so sad that the amount of work we have to do, the amount of service we have to do is, practically speaking, unlimited. The illusory energy, Prabhupada says, has two phases of influence, two phases of existence, namely the covering influence and the throwing influence. So what's the difference? What are the two? By the throwing influence, the illusory energy throws the living entities into the darkness of ignorance. So the material energy throws, the illusory energy throws the living entity into the darkness. So we're thrown into this world. We're thrown into this material life. How did we get here? How do we end up in this situation? By the covering influence, she covers the eyes of men with a profound knowledge about the existence of the Supreme Person who enlightens the Supreme Individual Living Being, Brahma. So the covering influence and the throwing influence. So we're thrown into this material world. We don't know how we got here. Obviously, it stemmed from envy. We're envious of the Supreme Personality of God, and we're envious of his position because everybody wants to be God, everybody wants to be Ishvara, everybody wants to be Lord. So we're thrown in here, and then we're covered by this material body's life after life after life. Like you can see it so much here. Wherever, especially in Mombasa, I was in the temple in Mombasa, and wow. The number of cockroaches in the room was absolutely insane. And the size of them, they're like as big as rats. And what a body. What a body. I mean, you can't get anything more ignorant than that. And there's millions of them. And there's millions of living entities like that. Millions of them. The body of a rat, the body of a pig, the body of a goat, a dog, a cat, a chicken. I mean, the poor chickens here. They don't stand a chance. But how do we end up in this situation? Out of ignorance, complete and total ignorance. Like we described previously, Lord Indra, the king of heaven, he was cursed to take birth in the body of a pig. And there he was getting around, the body of a pig and, scrambling in the dirt and eating whatever scraps were thrown there. Lord Brahma took pity on him. Said, no, I have to save Indra from this bodily. The pig, no, we can't have Indra living in the body of a pig. Lord Brahma came to see him and said, Indra, you're the king of heaven. Forget about this pig business, eating all kinds of scraps of abominable foodstuffs, stool and everything like that. So he said to Indra, let's go back. You go back to your Swargalok where you belong. You belong in heaven. You're the king of heaven. And Indra said, no, I can't do that now. I've got Mrs. Pig to take care of, the piglets, who'll take care of them? Brahma was absolutely astonished. How on earth can you fall into such a state of ignorance? And that's what we have done willingly. Willingly. We've embraced this. We cheer it on week after week in our stupid football matches and whatever sports we're playing, cricket. Let's not leave cricket out of it. It's just as bad. It's not because you're from India that you're going to escape. No, baseball and whatever it is in America that they play, it's all the same, no matter where you go. People are just suffering like anything for a tiny little microscopic relief from the suffering. They go out to work in the factory, they go out to work in the field, they go out to work in the most abominable conditions of life, day after day after day, and then on a Saturday they go and relieve themselves by going to these insane sports events and drinking themselves silly till they don't know what they're doing. It's the same the world over. And when they're not engaged in that, they're engaged in war, killing, abortion, slaughterhouses. I mean, it's an abominable situation that we find ourselves in. So the influence of the material energy covers the eyes of men with a poor fund of knowledge about the existence of the Supreme Person who enlightened the Supreme Individual Living Being, Brahma. The identity of Brahman with the Supreme Lord is never claimed herein. This is so important. We cannot say that they merged, that the two are one. That's never the case. There's always individuality. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. We're always individuals. We're always individually responsible for our own actions. So we have to accept that fact. We're in this situation, we're in this abominable situation. We're reading today in the Bhagavatam class the length of one day of Brahma and how many manus there are in one day of Brahma. We were reading in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I mean, it's like it's an interminable amount of time. And that is one day of Brahma. And then there's one night of Brahma, the same amount of time. Countless trillions of years in our lifetime. And then in our years. And then that's one day, 12 hours of Brahma's day, 12 hours of Brahma's night. And then you have a week of Brahma's time. And then you have a month, and then you have a year, and then you have 100 years. And we've gone through that cycle so many countless times. And all of that is one breath of Lord Vishnu. And we are thinking, yes, in our 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90 years, whatever amount of time we have on this planet, yes, I'm going to be the Lord of all I survey. I'll be the Lord of everything. I'll be the Lord of everything, and I'll just lord it over and enjoy. This is the mentality. This is the mentality of everyone. The identity of Brahma with the Supreme Lord is never claimed here, and therefore such a foolish claim by the man with a poor fund of knowledge is another display of the illusory energy of the Lord. Yet another display. How many pieces of evidence do we need before we realize this is not it? This is not the end all. This life is not the end all and be all of our existence. There's more to that. The two most important days in our life is the day we were born and the day we ask, why? Why was I born? What am I doing here? What is the reason for this miserable existence? Where do I go from here? What do I do with this life? The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, 18, 20, that demoniac persons who deny the existence of the Lord are thrown more and more into the darkness of ignorance. And thus, such demoniac persons transmigrate life after life without any knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is a fact. And these demoniac persons, they think that they're the end all and be all of everything. Let's have a look at that. Those verses. Very, very interesting. The way Prabhupada quotes, he just injects these little quotes here and there in his purports from different shastras, Svetasatara Upanishad, from other sections of the Bhagavatam. But Prabhupada quotes a lot from the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Why the Bhagavad Gita? Because the Bhagavad Gita has power. The Bhagavad Gita is potent. It's direct words of the Supreme Lord himself, spoken to Arjuna for our benefit, so that we can understand our fallen conditioned state. And we can not only understand our fallen conditioned state, that's the negative side, but on the positive side, the way and the means by how we can get out of this fallen conditioned state. So in verse 18, in verse 18 of the 16th chapter, just quoted by Prabhupada in the purport, bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, did the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. So this is 5,000 years ago. This is spoken. It hasn't changed. It's not that because, we read about Putana in Krishna Lila, we read about Kamsa, we read about Agasura, we read about all the different demons and demonesses who appeared in Krishna's Lila and the time when Krishna was a child in Vrindavan. And we think, oh yeah, these are nice stories, and, Damodarastakam and so on and so forth. And then we all eulogize, greatly about them, like, oh yeah, this happened at Krishna's time. It doesn't happen today. Of course it happens today. Of course the demons are still there. The fight between the Devatas and the demons, that is eternal. It's not because these demons appeared so many millions of years ago or thousands of years ago that they're no longer there. They're very much prominent. The whole world is run by man-eating Rakshasas. Prabhupada says in the Rajavijja, in one of the purports to Rajavijja, the whole world is run, controlled by man-eating Rakshasas who basically have no control over their senses to the extent that they eat their own young. And this is the prediction for the oncoming ages, the oncoming years of Kali Yuga. People will be giving birth, they will be procreating children simply for the sake of having something to eat. If we think it's bad now, it's only 5,000 years into the Kali Yuga. It's 5,000 years ago since Krishna appeared. So 5,000 years from now will be still 422,000 years left of Kali Yuga. Imagine it's 5,000 years since Krishna left the planet, his manifest leelas. So in 5,000 years from now, there'll still be 422,000 years of Kali Yuga remaining. And it doesn't get better. It does not get better. So we want to take a chance to be born again into that kind of a situation? No, we don't. We want to make it real. This is the time and now it happens. Prabhupada said in a lecture in Melbourne, when one devotee asked the question, we've been in Maya for so many millions of lifetimes. How is it possible to get out of this situation just in this lifetime? And Prabhupada said, it can happen in a second. In a second. Prabhupada went on to say, don't you read Bhagavad Gita? Don't you take assurance from Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita? Sarva dharman parijyaja mamekam sharanam bhaja aham tvam sarva papibhyo mokshi shashmi ma suchaha. Just give up all varieties of religion. Just surrender unto me. I will give you protection. Do not fear. Declare it boldly, O Arjuna, my devotee never perishes. So this is where we need to get out. We need to be solid. We need to be fixed in our conviction that taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, that's the only way. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. Where have we heard that before? Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalona, Stevana, Stevana, Steva Gatiranyata. And that's a fact. So why is it repeated 3 times in the same shloka? There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other. We said, no, if I follow Manchester United, then I'll find a way. If I follow the Bundesliga, then I'll find a way. If I follow this and go to a Taylor Swift concert, then I'll be happy. And this is going on. This is accepted. This is normal. If I have another burger, if I had another bottle of beer, then I'll be happy. But it just goes on and on and on. It just goes on forever. So the demons have conditioned us in such a way, our own mind has conditioned us in such a way that we accept this as being normal. But it's not. It's completely and totally abnormal. It's completely artificial. It's a complete illusion. It's like trying to enjoy the meal reflected in the mirror. It will always be like, we'll never be happy, we'll never be satisfied. We'll always be running like the donkey after the carrot, trying to enjoy in such a way that, there's never satisfaction. It'll never be enough. The next verse that Prabhupada is quoting from in the Gita is number 19 from chapter 16. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Those who are envious. So that's the way it goes. It's just based on envy. And Prabhupada says in this verse, it is clearly indicated that the placing of a particular individual soul in a particular body is the prerogative of the supreme will. The demoniac person may not agree to accept the supremacy of the Lord, and it is a fact that he may act according to his own whims, but His next birth will depend on the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not on himself. Just like Indra, and it was cast into the body of a pig. He was cursed to take birth as a pig. It wasn't up to Indra, the king of heaven, enjoying the most opulent lifestyle beyond our even wildest dreams, beyond our imagination. But still, he had to go and suffer. And we're in the same situation. The Prabhupada is saying in this purport now, the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, demoniac persons who deny the existence of the Lord are thrown more and more into the darkness of ignorance, and thus such demoniac persons transmigrate life after life without any knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So look at the situation we're in. We are so fortunate. So fortunate. We have been given this knowledge by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has given us the opportunity to get out of this cesspool of life and embrace the highest philosophy in existence. Embrace the lotus feet directly of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By how? By engaging in service, by engaging in serving the devotees, by engaging in serving the spiritual master. Tadvidi pranipratena pariprashnena sevaya. Upadekyanti tekinas kyaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth, Krishna says. Just try. That's all Krishna is asking. Just try. Try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. How? Inquire from him submissively. Render service unto him. He can give you knowledge because he has tattvadarshan. He has seen the truth. So this is how we learn. This is how we take it step by step by step. The process of sadhana bhakti. We can only put one foot in front of the other, one step at a time. And as we go forward, then we're making so much progress. Krishna is running at 1,000,000 miles an hour towards us to embrace us, and we're turning our backs on him. He wants us to embrace Krishna consciousness, to engage in the service of the Lord 1,000,000 times more than we would ever want to. He's feeling the separation from us as much as we are feeling the separation from him. We are his part and parcel. It's a reciprocation. The relationship is reciprocal. We go hand in hand. It is our Sat Chit Anand. It is our constitutional position. This is what we are. This is who we are. That relationship is happening right here and now, right at this very second. As we're speaking, as we're listening. This relationship is going on now, but because we're covered by this bodily conception and we're in this body, then we refuse, or we can't break out of this cycle. But as soon as we get a glimpse, the smallest little chink of light that appears by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, then we're on the path back to Godhead. That's what we need to do. And we need to stick with it and stay with it. The sane man, however, Prabhupada says, the sane man, however, is enlightened in the disciplic succession from Brahmaji, who was personally instructed by the Lord, or in the disciplic succession from Arjuna, who was personally instructed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita. He accepts this statement of the Lord, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam Buddha bhava samanvitaha. 10:8. So this is all we need. The Lord is the original source of all emanations, and everything that is created, maintained, and annihilated exists by the energy of the Lord. The sane man who knows this is actually learned, and therefore he becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So that's all we need. Prabhupada is using this word sane. He uses that word a lot. Somebody who's sane, somebody who's dhira, somebody who is sober. Then he fixes his mind on what the goal of life is. And when we fix our mind and we know what the destination is, then we simply go towards that destination. But if we don't have a clue what the destination is, how will we ever reach it? You don't jump into your car and just drive. Where are you going? I don't know, I'm just driving. That's insanity. And this is what we're doing all the time. As Einstein said, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. But that's what we're doing, lifetime after lifetime. You say, no, I'll try again this time. This time it'll work. This time definitely I will enjoy. This time I will succeed. I'll reach the topmost position of material existence and I will become the enjoyer and the Ishvara. No, you won't. It won't happen. But we're convincing ourselves time and time and time again, no, it will happen, it will happen. I just have to try a little bit harder, work a bit harder, succeed a bit harder, make a bit more money, make another few million. No, it doesn't work. It simply does not work. And then we just go around in a circle, lifetime after lifetime, and it simply just brings us to the point where we're so totally frustrated with everything in existence that the only thing that can satisfy us is when we reconnect with our original position, our original constitutional position. So Prabhupada says, and rather that verse that Prabhupada quoted, I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me. How? With all their hearts. With all their hearts. That's the way. It's not that Krishna is on an ego trip and he expects, oh no, it has to be me, it has to be me. Krishna wants to be the servant of the servant himself. He wants to serve us as much as we want to serve him. But he understands, he appreciates the fact that we're so covered, unless we hear it directly from him, you regain your original constitutional position, again become a member, remember. Matasmrita jnanam apohanam cha. Simply beg for his mercy. From me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Simply beg for his mercy. Beg for the mercy of the Guru. Beg for the mercy of Krishna. Prabhupada says in the purport to that verse, a learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. So this is how fixed we need to become. So we're totally and completely focused on the goal. And we take one step at a time. You can't jump with 2 feet. You can't just jump, oh no, I'm going to increase the pace. And instead of taking one foot in front of the other, I'm going to put 2 feet together at the same time. That way I'll reach the goal. No, we simply follow a process. We're designed to take one step at a time. So we take one step at a time in which direction? Towards Krishna, not away from him. And then everything falls into place. There's no extraneous effort. There's not that it needs like some kind of magic. It's not magical. The process is very simple. Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam. As Lord Chaitanya says, simply engage in the process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. This is the the revelation for the age of Kali. This is the simple method. And we deny that method. Or when we're sitting down, we're chanting our rounds, we're falling asleep, we're engaging in some way and trying to focus on the name. We just simply have to become fixed on the sound vibration. The sound vibration is leaving our tongue. We capture it with the ears. We have 2 ears, 1 tongue. We capture that sound vibration. It goes in a circle. It goes into the heart. It purifies this stone-like heart. And from there, everything just falls into place. It's the sound. The sound vibration is everything. Sound affects so many things. I remember when I was doing it's a long time ago now, when I did my studies in my engineering days in college, but we used to test metals with ultrasonic sound to see how, if there were any defects in the metal, simply by sound. We'd send a sound vibration into the metal, it would bounce back, and it would come on the screen, there's a defect there, or it's pure. So we want to become unalloyed devotees, completely and totally unalloyed devotees. Prabhupada was walking across a bridge in Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania, on a morning walk with the devotees one time. And in the middle of the bridge, there was a plaque saying who had built the bridge, when it was built, what year, and what steel it was made from. And it was written underneath, unalloyed steel. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is what we want. We want unalloyed devotion to the Supreme Lord. No matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstances, Prabhupada would always bring it back to a focus on Krishna, just by looking at a bridge. Prabhupada related the bridge to Krishna. Unalloyed steel. We want unalloyed devotion. And then everything else just automatically falls into place. There's no extraneous effort. It's not an artificial imposition on the mind, as Prabhupada says in that famous recording. Even a dog can participate. A dog. So why are we excluding ourselves? So we just have to simply carry on, engage in the process, stick with the process, and automatically our devotion, our love of God will just manifest. It's already there. We just have to give ourselves the opportunity to allow it to come out and allow it to manifest. We are our own worst enemy. There's no need for it. We simply allow ourselves to just embrace this devotion. We've been given a rare, rare, rare gift. Sa Mahatma Sadurlabha. Such a great soul is very, very rare. And we are in that little circle. So now we want to embrace it not only for ourselves, we also want to give that to others. So everybody can benefit. The whole world can benefit. The whole world is in need, dire need of this philosophy, dire need. And if we become strong, we can influence others. And then our lives will be successful. Okay, I think our time is up. And if there are any questions or comments, I will try to answer. Thank you very much for your patience, for listening to me. I know it's been an ordeal. It always is. And sometimes I just go rambling on, don't even know what I'm saying, but somehow or other, something comes out. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for that excellent discourse on that those verses, and also how you dovetailed to Christianity aspects. It's really beautiful how you do that, because some of us were in the background of Christianity. Maybe just a small question, Prabhuji, is sometimes we were into football before we joined Krishna consciousness, and sometimes our friends are also, we can see there's so much into that football Maya illusion. And as a person who has mercy of our brothers, blood brothers, and also cousins, also our friends, sometimes I don't know, would you advise maybe a devotee to maybe just follow a little bit, just to be with them, and then maybe you can even maybe watch a football game wearing a tilak, and then when they are out of that mayhem of football, they can ask you, hey, what is that tilak? You can have association with them and maybe discuss about Krishna in a way, like you can even greet them with football language, and then dovetail it to talk about Krishna meditation with them. I don't know, maybe.
Yes.
I know.
Well, I wasn't picking on football in particular. I just happened to be. I used to drive for a tour company in England, and that tour company, because we were based in Birmingham, we got the contract to drive the Aston Villa team, because they were just down the road from us, the Aston Villa team, all over the country when they were playing in the away match. And I used to be the driver because I drove in London a lot, so they gave me the job of driving to Chelsea and Arsenal and West Ham and all these places. And I never once went in to watch a match, and people would say, "Oh wow, we're so envious of you. You go to all the Premier League grounds in the country." I used to go to the coach and just sleep, so that I'd be fit and fresh for the return journey back to Birmingham. If you go drive all the way to Newcastle from Birmingham, it's a long way. And but you know, I'm a complete fanatic when it comes to rugby. I follow rugby. But you know, how to dovetail it, I mean, you can have a bit of fun. There's nothing wrong with having a bit of fun. Or, you know, putting your hand in the fire a little bit, but you're still going to get burned. But how to engage these people when they're, you know, that's their whole life. There's nothing wrong with football. Krishna and Balram, they played football. You know, that was done in the spiritual world. They also played chess. Balram, Maharshana Sutta, he was killed by Balaram, and you know, they were playing chess in the spiritual world. They play games, they have fun, they have, you know, but when it brings you away from Krishna, when it brings you to the point where you're divorced, completely divorced from spiritual knowledge, and that's your whole life, and that's the only thing you need, and that becomes your God, that's when the danger arises. That's when the problems arise. It's not the sport per se. There's nothing wrong with the sport. But when your whole focus is on your rock band or your Taylor Swift or your football or your rugby or your cricket or whatever, baseball or whatever it might be, and that's all you know. It's like one morning on the morning walk with Govinda Dasi in Hawaii. The first time, because it doesn't exist that much in India, but the first time Prabhupada was on a morning walk, he was passing by a beach, golf course on the beach, and Prabhupada said, "Wow!" And of course, it's all old men out early in the morning. They're dying days. They've retired. They're out with their golf ball. Prabhupada started crying. Prabhupada was crying. Literally tears were coming out. He said, "Look, what a waste of a human form of life." And then he looked over to the other side of the beach, and there were these men were out surfing early morning on their surfing boards. And he said, and Prabhupada hadn't seen that before in India either. So he said to Govinda Dasi, what is going on there? What are they doing? And Govinda Dasi, she said, "Oh, they're surfing, Srila Prabhupada." And Prabhupada, he said, "Oh, they're suffering?" And she said, "No, they're surfing, Srila Prabhupada, surfing." And Prabhupada said, "No, they are suffering. They are suffering." So yes, we have these sports, these little dangling of the carrot in front of the donkey to keep us going. And because the life is so unbearable, we need this intoxication, we need this sport to create the illusion that there's some happiness here. There isn't. It is that. It's just an illusion, and the only way is to take to Krishna. Jai, I hope that answers your question and doesn't hurt or offend
Yeah,
your
that's so beautiful.
sensitivities
Thank
about
you so much.
football too much. Jai, thank you
No,
very
no,
much.
no.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anyone else with a question? Maybe if there's none, I can ask Janukaya Didi Mataji to end the session for us, please. Or maybe I can ask.
Yeah, I
Hare
don't have
Krishna.
any question, but it was a nice class. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, wonderful
So we
class,
can maybe
Prabhu. Thank you very much.
unmute and
Jai, Prasanna Prabhu, Hari Bol.
Hare Thank you.
Krishna. We can kindly unmute and we do one Mahamantra in glorification of today's session. Thank you very much, Your Grace, Vidura Prabhuji.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Jai.
Vancha
Panchakalpatrupasta Kipasinvecha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Vaishnavebhyo.
Namaha. Shri Vaishnav Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Jai.
Good night, everybody. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Jai.